Though many people know of Claude Monet as a facet of Impressionism, there lies a heartfelt story that goes beyond the simple brushstrokes and the many images of his famous water lilies. His paintings hold the story of a man who was passionate and resilient, someone who never stayed down when he fell. Monet enjoyed painting the same things over and over again throughout his passing days because he wanted to capture the fleeting moments of objects and immortalize them in that moment in time. And when he came back to paint it later, he would discover something he hadn't seen in his previous painting session, something that he had found enjoyable. These repeated subjects painted in different colors would be referred to as a series. Examples of some of his famous series would be his haystacks, Rouen Cathedral, Houses of Parliament, and the very notable water lilies, containing the subseries Water Lilies and Japanese Bridge. Monet has an unofficial series with one of his paintings entitled Woman with a Parasol, where it is of his wife Camille and their son a few paces away in the background. What is different about this painting in this particular set is that his other plein-air portraits of women with a parasol do not, in fact, portray the same model, nor did he paint them hours or even days apart from each other. One interesting aspect that lies within the detailing of the works is that in the first portrait based on Camille, her face is comprehensible. Perhaps that observation means little on its own, but consider his woman with a parasol facing left and his woman with a parasol facing right. Both made in 1886, and the model being his second wife's daughter, Suzanne. This detail is worth pointing out because in his second and third woman with a parasol paintings, their faces are rather obscured. Now, maybe there's nothing more to it than a stylistic choice at the time. But consider, perhaps the likeness of the second and third paintings of the series to the first are due to his lingering ache for his late wife. The lack of detail to the faces, the lack of energy in the brushstrokes, and the lack of movement in the second and third paintings make it seem as though the painting of Camille was made from a certain type of care, from love, whereas Suzanne's paintings were mere studies like the rest of his other series. Another reason why it may seem like the later paintings may be studies is because of the dramatic lighting and color choices of the pieces. As an Impressionist painter and as someone who liked to paint the same scenes repeatedly but in different lighting, Monet has studied colors and honed the skill to pick and place colors in a certain way. Notice how the color choices in Camille's portrait lean a little more in likeness to reality, whereas the color palette in Suzanne's portrait is more fanciful and dramatic than real life. Less like a snapshot of a moment in time and more of an attempt to beautify the past with the present. The essence of this notion is that Monet is able to capture a certain beauty amidst his grief. Even if he yearns for his late wife, instead of feeling sorry for himself, wallowing in grief, and staying stuck in one place, he's moved on in some aspects of his life, getting remarried, creating a new family, creating a new beauty in his sorrow. Instead of making the later woman with a parasol paintings out to be a sorrowful loss, he recreates his late wife's aura in these newer paintings, adding more color around the form of what was once her. Sure, his model is different, and the color palettes are different, but with the obscured faces in comparison to the first painting, the white dresses in the wind, the similar compositions and point of views, they all hold the memory of his late wife, but in a manner that presents the beauty of the past with her, rather than the sorrows of her end. Moving away from the topic of his wife, for the past 30 years of his life, Monet painted his renowned series of water lilies, which has around 250 paintings. A subcategory under the well-known series is the Water Lilies in Japanese Bridge series, of which he has 12 of in the collection. This collection, more official and in tune with his other series than his Woman with a Parasol set, consists of paintings of his garden in Giverny, where he had a pond of water lilies and a wooden Japanese-style bridge arched over it. This garden that he crafted himself was something he cherished and was very proud of, and that is evident from the sheer number of paintings he's done of his garden alone. In one of the first paintings of the Water Lilies in Japanese Bridge series, the subject matter is portrayed clearly with a cool color palette of soft greens, blues, and pinks. The lighting is ambient, depicting the dim evening sun with an array of blue shadows and light greens. The bridge lays clearly defined, sitting above a reflective pond with water lilies sprinkled about. The water beneath the bridge reflects the imagery of the greenery of the setting around it, tying the painting together cohesively. The detailing and the peacefulness that could be felt once gazing upon it greatly reflects the artist's feelings towards his garden. Unfortunately for Monet, his vision started to noticeably worsen in 1912 and was diagnosed with cataracts. Monet strongly refused to go through with surgery despite the doctor's suggestions, because he was afraid that it would fail and further worsen his ability to see colors. As of this point, the cataracts have not affected his ability to paint or go through life all that much, so nothing was done. However, his eyesight quickly worsened, and the colors he saw began to get all dark and muddled, and it became harder for him to pick colors when painting. It was not until 1923 when he acquiesced to getting that cataract surgery. A drastic shift due to this cataract condition can clearly be seen exemplary in the painting The Japanese Bridge, which was created around 1923 to 1925, when comparing it to his first ones in 1899. The overall painting almost seems to exude agony, tortured by the fact that his body was failing him despite his attempts to push forward. The soft colors of the past morphed into a darker, hazier depiction of the once inviting subject. The colors are largely primary, blues, yellows, and reds. The bridge lies blurredly defined, barely able to be made out with a mix of dark blues and reds, set against a yellow and red background. Hardly anything can be made out aside from the bridge itself, everything else a foggy mix of colors that cannot truly be parsed. The water lilies seem present, as are the bushes and the trees, but all in all, their starts and ends are impossible to find. Altogether, the painting coalesces in a disorienting and uncomfortable fashion, and stands as a symbol and critical point of Monet's worsening vision. But not only was Monet able to create beauty amidst yet another loss in his life due to cataracts, but he also pushed through the unfortunate event and continued to paint. He was, after all, an individual who loved and appreciated colors and found passion in translating them onto canvas. It's been known that he had many frustrations and complaints as his vision worsened, understandably so, but the crux of the matter was that he never stopped painting regardless of the circumstances of his sight. Painting is a craft that is heavily dependent on sight, so to lose that as an artist must have been a devastating experience. But to have remained ambitious and persevering through it all until the end is an even more devastating display of resilience through the most dire of trials and tribulations, a recurring theme that Monet seems to have conquered throughout his life.